Hey guys, welcome back to another podcast of The Nerdy X. I'm here with the man, the legend, Adrian Murphy.
What's up, world? How are we today?
And the own shop owner himself who lets us use his fine location, the owner of Ryan's Comics, Ryan Haggerty.
Hey guys, Ryan from Ryan's Comics. Once again, here we are.
Once again, here we are, man.
This is episode 5, by the way.
Yeah, so man.
We're 5 into this.
We fly through.
I think we got a couple more plans, so yeah, let's get rolling.
All right, let's jump right in, man. You know, I'm going to talk for my good about something that's probably on the lips of all Nerdy X everywhere, and that's The Hobbit 2, The Desolation of Smaug. Big film, obviously, Peter Jackson's 5th film of the Lord of the Rings / The Hobbit series. I really just enjoyed this movie. You know, it continues with Bilbo Baggins and the dwarves he's accompanying and their journeys and so on and so forth. I love the epicness. I feel like now in today's cinema, we don't see too many films that are geared toward the epic feel, you know, when it's just like this overall huge arc of characters in this plot, you know, and everything's just getting you involved. I mean, the scenery, you're learning so much about individual characters and stuff. Some people have critiqued that they feel like it runs a little bit too long and that it's not enough material. You know, The Hobbit was broken out and stretched into 3 long movies. I disagree. You know, I love being taken for an adventure. The only thing I feel that's better than a good movie is a good long movie. So when I see these movies, I've never read the book, so I have no idea how it ends. So I can't tell you how excited I am for this movie. And to be honest, I haven't seen Lord of the Rings in so long, I really don't even know what the whole thing about that was, because it's been a good way since watching it. So I feel like I'm almost journeying through these films again. You know, that's the great thing about a 3-hour long movie. You know, like you just get sucked in. So
you got a couple of good long movies you have to rewatch.
I'm excited for it. It's just the cycle keeps continuing. You know,
I agree with you. I think, you know, going on that adventure is good. You know, I want to sit back and relax and go. I don't like switching a movie every hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And we can get a good 3-hour solid story, and that whole epic, the epicness makes a lot of sense. I get stuck in it. I'm just like, what is going on? What don't we know about in this world? It really, leaves the door open for, pretty much anything. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people said, I try to compare with Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of people argue that point, mm-hmm. but with that whole fantasy and getting the relics, and it makes me want to just like get into the lore more. Like, is there more to this? Can you make a video game that's actually like up to date now and give us a really good, MMO? That'd be pretty.
And I
cool.
think it's that kind of logic too that people come up with Star Wars. But
well, I saw it on Sunday, and I really felt like I was watching a direct prequel to The Lord of the Rings, mm-hmm. because that's what The Hobbit is. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if them extending it into 3 movies has affected the story that much as far as what they were going to do in 2 movies, but I was entertained the whole way through. Like the fight scenes were very choreographed, mm-hmm. and well done. Mm-hmm. What I was very much impressed with was how they kind of showed how Sauron, the real bad guy, is kind of in his infancy stage. Yeah. And that kind of really blew my mind just to see that on film. And Gandalf, mm-hmm. being the one to discover it. Like, I loved it when he would put down Spoiler alert. He would throw down his cane, and basically it would show the light of everything that was around it. Yeah. It was just a very, very good, entertaining mm-hmm. film all the way through. Now I'm going to continue into my good. My good is DC Comics, The New 52. Now, I know that they took a chance, DC, with the reinvention and reimagining done under Jeff Johns and Jim Lee. But right now, if you're reading DC, and I'm a Marvel guy, but I have to give my hat 100%, they're really hitting a stride. And that stride is really based and founded upon this Forever Evil concept and the Year Zero concept of what's going on in Batman, because they are really fleshing out a history for this new imagining of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Green Lantern, with respect to the old continuity, but just really telling the story in a way that fits into the modern reader right now. And Forever Evil right now is their first company-wide crossover since its inception about 2 years ago. So Forever Evil as a crossover within the company of DC is an epic storytelling event. Basically, spoiler alert, if you're not reading comics and you want to know how basically the Lex Luthor version of what are they called in the Super Friends? The Lex Luthor version of the Super Friends. What were they called? The Legion of Doom?
Yes.
Well, basically, this is a story of how the Legion of Doom basically rescues the world from an alternate version of Batman, Superman.
Now, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you think that the focus is too small? Like, do you think DC is focusing on, like, Superman and Batman, like, just too much? Like, because there's so much things. Like, there's the whole Gotham universe, which covers, 13, 14 titles. Then you have the whole Superman circle, which is basically Justice League, Superman, Wonder Woman, Teen Titans, Supergirl, all those titles. Because even anything that Superboy touches, I want to say, contributes. So do you think that they could be going into other stories and going bigger, like a time story with Flash, or something like that? Like, do you think they could be mixing it up more, like making it more epic? Like, okay, they're fighting gods, or do you think keeping it small controls other media outputs, like films and toys and stuff? Do you think keeping it small, they can really focus on putting out certain toy lines? So people like Ultraman from the Forever Evil series from Earth 3, they do an Ultraman toy, and I sell them super quick here. So what were you gonna say?
My thing is that as far as them including and building up other characters within the DC universe, first of all, there would not be a New 52 universe if it was not for the Flash, which that was Flash's first epic.
Right.
So that's building up Flash. I really see them putting a lot of effort into putting Cyborg out there. Now, with Forever Evil being their first company-wide crossover, their little side titles, like they have Arkham Wars, that's basically Bane has gone into Gotham because Batman is presumed dead, and he's basically regulating how Batman would have regulated if he was there. Because basically, with Batman gone, everybody has lost their mind, and Gotham is in complete disarray.
Now, where is Batman? I'm not reading that title.
Well, if you're reading Forever Evil, he's...
Well, they're still trying to figure everything out.
Like, yeah, he's still alive.
Technically.
But basically, Forever Evil is basically a Lex Luthor story, in my opinion. It's basically the inception of the Legion of Doom, because when the Crime Syndicate, which is from an alternate universe of DC Comics, they come into
Earth 3.
They come into our universe, the DC universe with Superman. They're basically different versions of our popular heroes. Owlman and Batman are basically the same. Ultraman, Superman.
Owlman's evil, though.
Yeah, Owlman is
all evil.
They're all evil versions. But they come to Earth and they dominate. Like, they wipe out the heroes, and basically they ask all the villains to join them as their crime lords. And the only opposition is Lex Luthor. He doesn't trust anybody with superpowers over his intellect. So he gets a team together. And
it's all the bad guys that were like...
Yeah, it's all the bad guys.
It's like, Aqualad. It's not Aqualad, but Black Mantis.
Black Mantis.
Because when he found out Aquaman was dead, he had no reason to be evil at that point.
Yeah, because that was his nemesis.
His whole nemesis thing was with Aquaman. So if Aquaman doesn't exist, his priorities change. So it's pretty interesting.
But I mean, it goes beyond just Forever Evil, because is it Scott Snyder? His Batman storyline with the Year Zero, I mean, it's retelling the Joker and the Red Hood and the relationship with Robin and everything from a new, at its roots perspective. And it's just a really good read. And it's just kind of outdoing everything that Marvel Marvel has like one or two staples for me right now. But like I'm it's just drawing me to more towards DC at this current storyline. And I know it goes in ebbs and flows, but right now, DC is my good to end out the year of 2013.
Right.
Sorry.
Well, for as far as DC goes, they have the other their smaller company Vertigo, which they do a lot of their more risky titles. One of the big ones that a lot of people are familiar with is Sandman by Neil Gaiman. It was that title is pretty legendary. If you haven't read Sandman, you need to. Neil Gaiman, he just does a great job with everything. Originally illustrated by Jack Kirby, who was also a legend, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt said he came out on a tweet and said that he was going to be the producer of the new Sandman movie, and that says a lot. They just released a new #1. Neil Gaiman came back and did a new #1 Sandman Overture, which is on in stores now. So
come right here.
Ryan's Comics.
So they did delay the issue #2 till February. So I'm kind of wondering if they kind of waited to drop the news of the movie and then release the new issue after Christmas, let that buzz build up. I think that would be pretty smart on their side. Because Neil Gaiman is going to get a lot of money off of these sales. Yeah. It's a big release. It doesn't matter. It's basically his book. I'm sure Vertigo's writing him a nice check for that. So
and he gets paid for his work.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Neil Gaiman's doing work. Yeah. He is. I think he is one of those comic book writers who's Hall of Fame, automatically. If you haven't read Neil Gaiman, then you haven't really jumped into the real comic book universe of.
Or you might have been reading Neil Gaiman and been entranced, but just not realize that it was Neil Gaiman.
Well, the cool thing about Neil Gaiman is that he'll create characters, and doesn't matter if it's Marvel, DC, IDW, Image. People are pulling from those characters and the personalities of in their books, and so for a writer to create one story based in his own universe, basically. And it can cross over to so many things, because even the death that he explains, the death that is in his, the way he describes it in his book, the character death, I feel like Marvel pulls a lot from that, so it's pretty interesting. But
yeah, I'm really excited about Joseph Gordon-Levitt and his efforts in Sandman too, because lately, he has been on a media blitz. He's very incredibly talented, and I think whatever effort he puts into it. Hopefully it's at a good. I trust him to be at a good high level of quality. He's been putting out some good work.
Do you think he learned a lot from Nolan though in the superhero aspect of it?
I hope not.
You think he stays away from that type of?
I think he probably.
God, I hope not.
Joe's I call him Joe because obviously we're BFFs. He's a very savvy guy. He has a YouTube channel called Hit Record, which is actually a production company.
Yeah.
Don John was under the label as well. So he seems to be very good at almost amassing his brand. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
So you think he would really hit that superhero comic book theme tone without making it corny?
He's a real throwback actor. Just his look, and he can fit
I think he
that
can.
genre.
Do you think he can actually get to the point where he sets a tone for the upcoming superhero movies?
Oh yeah. I think his efforts
for the style that this movie has to be. It's going to have to be Constantine, but with way more.
For this one, I could say yes because I feel like he has a lot of clout in that. But overall, I feel like when you're talking about the Snyders and so on and so forth. I don't know if he has that kind of clout. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, for me, as far as superhero goes, he really wasn't a superhero in The Dark Knight Rises. He was
an average cop.
He was just a cop. And then when you asked me if he learned anything from Nolan, I was like, I hope not, because first of all, that whole concept of him being Robin in that Dark Knight Rises.
I'm not saying he learned a lot as far as he learned good things. I'm just saying learned a lot from being on the set and because obviously there's a lot of backlash for him playing, quote unquote Robin.
Well, you hope so. Regardless of whatever you think about Nolan's thing, and I personally love Nolan, a lot of his stuff. I think whenever you're a professional and you're with a more experienced professional, you want to try to glean knowledge from them or anything that.
Now, I have obviously a lot of respect for Gaiman. do you think the project's too big for the star? Like, do you think it's too big for who he is, like what he's done in the past? Do you think this project is like, because for me, I'm not going to compare it to Lord of the Rings,
Sure.
but it's one of the top books of all comic books, and we're talking like individual, like this is like Watchmen status. I feel like and.
I'm sorry, but in the mythos of comics, a lot of people are not. If you're not reading comics or in the comic book or nerd culture, you're not going to be familiar with Sandman.
But you're going to be familiar with Neil Gaiman, though.
You're going to. I mean, you could, but you'll be more familiar with Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing Sandman than you would be the character of Sandman, because I just think that he
didn't say he's playing it yet. He said he's producer for sure.
I read that he was either directing, starring, producing.
I was just going off of his actual Twitter.
I know for sure he's producing. I mean, he may be doing more. They said rumor. That's interesting though, Ryan, because I will say this. Me personally, obviously this is anecdotal for, other people may say differently, but like Lord of the Rings, I didn't know anything about Lord of the Rings before the movies came out. I didn't grow up reading the books. So some people may feel that way about, Sandman. It's like, I don't know who this is, but I know Joe. So
Peter Jackson was already an established director.
And Peter Jackson was already an established director too. So
I'm just saying, do you think it's too big?
Do you think? I don't think so. And this is why. This may sound like a weird thing just to bet on him, but I like him. Like I like Joe. I think he seems like he's got like a super solid head on his shoulders, stuff like that. Like super he doesn't seem to go into anything.
So do you think this could like put him to the next level, like jump him up, like success with this movie? He's already has a great background, a great history. He has a successful movie now. Do you think he goes to that next level of like, boom, I made a movie and then I made a hit on top of all my acting credentials? Do you think it'll take him to the Christopher Nolan level or something like that? If he,
I think he is aspiring to be. Or do you think in that realm of directorship where his acting is going?
Or do you think it could be more of a, like a new brand, a new type of entertainer? Because there's not really too many great directors and actors. Like, a lot of people direct and act, of course. But I'm talking about like a great movie, like one of the classics. Because I really feel like Sandman could be on that level if you don't make it corny,
Yeah.
The story.
I agree.
Man, yeah, I think it's a lot that just depends on how Sandman turns out. So yeah, it's I feel like it's a lot of what ifs. It really just depends on if Sandman's really, really big, sure. But if anything, if it just becomes a solid film, then that's just another great producerial thing that he has and a stepping stone to his next project.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. But with that being Ryan's last good, I'm going to go into my bad. My bad, and it isn't really a bad per se, but it's the Warner Brothers DC movie properties. And the reason why I say it's bad, it's because DC has a lot to go up against. When I say it's bad for DC, because Marvel as a brand has 3 different properties. It has the Sony properties, which owns X-Men and Fantastic Four. It owns Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then you have the Fox properties that own X-Men and Fantastic Four. And then you have Marvel Studios, which own everything else. So DC, they have to establish their heroes within these next couple of movies in order just to... they're going to compete in that market, but if you looked at the numbers of Man of Steel compared to what Marvel is doing, they weren't those numbers. So DC has to establish those characters first. And if you look at the Sony Spider-Man has a stable of villains that are more well known than majority of DC characters. Everybody knows who the Green Goblin is. Everybody knows who Dr. Octopus is. Everybody knows who the Sandman is.
Everyone knows who the Big Will is.
Everybody knows who Venom is. Who is Big Will?
Exactly.
Okay. So, but that's just what DC has to go up against on just the Sony version of Marvel Comics. And now you have to have DC go up against the Fox version of Marvel, which is the X-Men and their expanded universe. They have a plethora of heroes. And then they have Fantastic Four and their plethora of heroes. That DC still has to establish their core heroes first. And then if you're going to go up against Marvel Studios, which has been established for 6 years now.
Do you think though that these DC characters were even interesting enough to want to follow? Because Iron Man, he's amazing. He's kind of like the Batman equivalent as far as backstory and stuff. rich playboy or whatever. And then, Marvel still has Spider-Man, Superman, I would think, or be more along the lines, for that same kind of audience. But outside of that, like, Wonder Woman has a great story, Themyscira, that whole deal. But Flash, Cyborg,
I know you've said that. I know you said that a couple of times. We've talked like that, and you feel that Flash probably can't carry a movie. And I'm on the opposite end. I truly think that if the story is good enough, obviously, I love the Flash, so I would love to see a Flash movie. But I think that most people would be behind seeing a Flash movie if the movie looks strong enough. He may not have like the cool tech feel that Iron Man had when it first came out,
right?
Which is what it was really capitalizing on and stuff. But I feel that if an Aquaman movie came out that was really good, half the people there would be there just because they think it's funny to go see an Aquaman movie, but then they're surprised at how awesome it is. And the other half is comprised of people like me who really love Aquaman and know how awesome he is. We'll see it.
I think it's going to work regardless, because if they're going to follow the Marvel Studios pattern, they're going to release these movies and tie them into the previous movies.
We already know they're not going to follow that.
Well, they have to. They have to have, if they're going to release a Flash movie at this current age of DC Warner, they have to have some type of connection to the Man of Steel and whatever effort they're going to put, whether it's going to be Batman versus Superman or if it's going to be a Justice League movie.
What I'm saying is, though, they've already failed on the Marvel train, because Marvel released a few of the individual characters before, and now they're doing one Superman and then just jumping in with the other two parts of Trinity. Do
you think they should look to add the other Justice League people in?
They would have done a Wonder Woman movie first, and then a new Batman movie, and then an Avengers movie.
With what the rumor is mill around this whole Batman Superman thing, they've already added in Wonder Woman.
Martian Manhunter, or casting.
They're casting, and they're looking for Martian Manhunter.
They bring Martian Manhunter in, they win.
Well, if they bring if it's Darkseid, they win.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Darkseid with Martian Manhunter, that's stepping it up.
I just think it's going to work because they can tie each hero, even though they have their own film, they can tie the stories together. They can, and it'll work.
But if they just do it like this, though, they do it like Darkseid, Martian Manhunter, let's go, big movie. Next one, they do like a Wonder Woman movie, whatever, a couple individuals again, a new Batman movie, and then in the next Justice League movie, it's just ridiculous again. Like, they just do something way beyond what Marvel or DC, whatever you thought they can make happen.
I think
and just do big epic ones instead of doing.
I like that idea. But the one thing I wonder is that looking at what Warner Brother has right now, it may be too soon to peak with the Darkseid type thing like that and then drop back down. Marvel had a very nice incline, going up from Captain.
But they could do a lot of others. They could do a Brainiac next one, and they would still be the same level of craziness.
But who's to say that DC Warner Brother movies isn't going to kind of follow the same business model as DC the New 52? Because DC the New 52, they introduced Darkseid right away as the adversary, and if they do that and they know that
it's successful,
it's successful. If they introduce Darkseid right away and then make him disappear, but know that he's in the background coming back again, dude, that would be epic on movie scales. If they follow the New 52 model, which in theory could happen.
Man, that's really interesting. That's a lot to think about.
That's Prophet Alpha, dog. I
feel like that's something that will come up on another later podcast. So based on movies, my bad is actually talking about the Sony aspect, but not how you think. As we all know, Sony's said that they want to start making some Spidey villains movies. It's the reason my bad is because I'm wondering why no one else is thinking of doing this idea. I think this is a great idea. I just bear with me here. Think about this idea. We're watching a Venom movie, a Mysterio movie, Carnage may be a little bit tougher, but a Doc Ock movie or something like that. And that character, they're the main character in this thing. So as the audience, we're going to get sympathetic to that character. Even if they're doing bad things, we're seeing the reasons why they're doing bad things. Like they're just making this character very strong and stuff like that. And that's just for that movie. So what happens in the follow-up movie to that, where that's Amazing Spider-Man 4 or 5 or whatever, and we're seeing Venom that Venom that we loved in the old movie facing off against a known good guy in Spider-Man. All of a sudden, the stakes are a lot higher. The bad guy isn't just like this rough caricature of themselves, or maybe has like one or two layers. We know like the likes and dislikes of this character. We know the stakes of what this character has to reach and strive for. I just love that idea so much that you're almost taking a break from the main guy, who we all know is there, and letting us focus on this villain, seeing why they think, and then you're going to put them together in another movie and just watch them duke it out and make the audience have to make that hard choice of who they want to root for.
Well, I'm gonna agree with you to that point, because if you look at the Amazing Spider-Man 2 trailer, there is a mysterious guy who's walking through, spoiler alert, that hallway where you see the Dr. Octopus arms and the Vulture.
The Vulture artist,
Who do you guys think it is?
I think it's Otto Octavius.
You think it's Otto Octavius? Who do you think it is, Theo?
It's to me, it's a little bit too shady. I kind of went with Otto Octavius, but I don't know if there's enough context.
I'm going with
yet.
Chameleon.
What?
Chameleon, and I'll tell you why. Because Chameleon is he's that Spider-Man villain who just always shows up out of nowhere. Like, it was Chameleon the whole time. Like,
I was never thought of that.
And now, if you watch, I
and
agree
the hat,
with you.
the hat, and the trench coat. That's Chameleon's.
When you
MO.
watch Amazing Spider-Man at the end, how is this guy able to get into the cell?
That's Chameleon. That's what he does.
With the lizard, because maybe he could. Oh man, I didn't think of that.
I'm a Spidey fan. I'm gonna be thinking about it.
But are you a Norman Osborn fan? Because
he's trying to play us.
No, listen, because if you're gonna talk about making a movie about villains, right? If you're gonna base the villains on Spider-Man, the only villain that you could do is Norman Osborn. What do you think about Norman Osborn?
Okay, so as far as Spidey goes, though,
just here's a quick thing. We all have this running joke that you may hear us talk about, where Ryan and I we love Spider-Man. We love Peter Parker, stuff like that. But
they both think that they're Peter Parker in their alternate personalities, and in truth, my agreement is more with Theo as Peter Parker.
I'll agree that I'm Norman Osborn, but pre-Green Goblin. Pre-Green Goblin. Yes, because I'm not a schizo crazy person.
No, okay. So you're the business.
Yes, exactly.
Osborn? Okay,
Yeah.
so he agrees.
So that's like
All
a
right,
little.
so you guys should be lucky that you're hanging out with me.
Oh please.
Yeah. I just think Marvel's bad guys, they can carry their own movie because they're just way bigger. It's in Marvel, it's always been more about the bad guys for each individual character. Everybody has their bad guy, but I just feel like they're a little bit more elevated than some of the DC bad guys. I feel like the DC bad guys, they just run through them. There's always new guys all the time. Marvel kind of recycles their bad guys. We see them more often through stories like the Chameleon, for example. Yeah. Chameleon always shows up. Spider-Man never catches him. And do you know
he always gets the leg up on Spider-Man?
Do you know why Spider-Man's villains always get away though? You know why they're always back on the streets? It's just a little trivia.
Why?
Because Spider-Man can't testify in court because of his mask. So when he catches him and leaves him up there, if he's the only witness...
That's a valid point.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
I wish that Parker kid was around taking photos of the actual capture. That would help out a lot.
So Peter's photos of them at the...
No, sometimes it works, but sometimes they get away. Most of the time they get away because
of who captured them.
Because they don't... When they goes to court, the lawyers are like... So where's the guy that
Spider-Man
they have good lawyers?
Yeah.
I bet you it's Matt Murdock because he's getting a lot of people off.
So I think the Marvel bad guys can carry movies because they're just huge. Like Doctor Doom, he is big. Like
you can
what DC character? Like there's obviously a lot of bad guys in DC, but I don't think there's the same amount. I just think that Marvel just succeeds. So when you start going into the whole villain aspect of it, and then you want to do, let's say later on, Marvel ends up joining with Sony to do, a film or whatever because the money's so big at that point. Then they can do this huge freaking 4-hour epic movie.
Directed by Peter Jackson.
Directed by Peter Jackson.
Another epic
and everyone's going to be like,
long.
This movie's too long. So you're telling me now that a movie with all the characters in it is too long. No. This movie needs to be 12 hours long.
Ryan's already getting arguments for this hypothetical 12-hour film in 2016.
Would you watch it?
And Theo's going to direct it. Theo's going to direct it.
Avengers, Spider-Man.
Stop right there.
movie.
Obviously, yes.
Obviously.
I could have stopped you as would you? Yes.
You would direct it.
So, speaking about Marvel and their whole thing, there's Wolverine has his new suit in the new X-Men movie, and that's my bad because he, first of all, doesn't resemble any suit that I've ever seen. Like, he looks kind of funny. It's all black. He looks like a Batman RoboCop type of dude. Like, he just looks like Hugh Jackman in a leather.
That sounds like that's a bad thing.
He looks like just Hugh Jackman in a leather, bondage suit. Like, that's all honestly what it looks like. There's no resemblance of Wolverine at all. I've seen some teasers of the yellow Wolverine mask, and I really would like to see him in that, especially for this movie.
Really?
Hopefully they do show him in the yellow. I think for this particular movie, it would be really good. Or even the brown suit. If they threw some brown in there, I'd be really good. The two-tone brown Wolverine suit was like...
And I think that's actually the suit that we see in the end of Wolverine.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But this new black one, I'm not feeling it at all. It just... When they start doing all the little different designs and stuff on it, and it's like the different cuts or whatever, it probably looks really good up close, but on screen, it's not sending me a message.
But they're all wearing the suit. They're all wearing a version of that suit. Professor Magneto.
Do you think it's a time travel thing?
I think they're probably being held prisoner of some sort. I think it has something to do, because if you look at that trailer, where they are located at
Some of Days of Future Past,
in Days of Future Past, where they're located at, it looks like in a dark, secluded area, and they're all in that type of garb. It isn't just isolated to Wolverine. So I think you have to probably see it to kind of figure it out. Now, obviously, I'm not a big Days of Future Past enthusiast as far as continuity, but I think it might be entertaining for entertainment purposes, but I don't know how they're going to make sense of all of it. But if he pulls it off, the director's name is... Bryan Singer. See,
my man.
I used to know his name like right on the tip of my tongue.
Right, it's
but now...
Adrian's removing him from existence.
Yeah, like, he's not even in my catalog of... And if you ever hear this, Bryan Singer, I still am a fan, but just...
No, you're not. You can't say that.
Yeah, I'm with Adrian on that. I mean, like, I think there's just so much that happens in that trailer. Like, I don't know where that scene may take place yet.
Yeah. I'm more hyped about the Sentinels, to be honest.
It's so much going on. But, I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't know how good those colors will look on screen. I know it's one of those things like, maybe we have to see it on there to believe it for ourselves. But I've never had a problem with the black leather. With the accent colors and like that. Maybe it's just me. But
you like a lot of colors.
I just like the, I just want them to stay true to the characters more. I understand it's a modern whatever. Just give us some fanboy service. It's the suit. That's a big deal.
You don't think like a black leather suit with the yellow outline stitching is good enough for Wolverine's thing?
Exactly.
For instance, you maybe want a little bit more color than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So moving on to my ugly it's about Batwoman. There was some an outcry about what DC did by firing their previous team, and basically what they wanted to do was they wanted to marry the lesbian couple in the book, and DC said no. There's not gonna be any marriage, which I kind of agree with DC because I feel like it's starting to turn into a real gimmick thing. And I understand in their book it was it's actually followed the story and it was actually building up to that point anyway, so it made sense. But Marvel and DC have been kind of going back and forth, and I think if you try to touch on it too much, it looks like you're trying to be oversensitive or you're trying to overcompensate. So I think it was good on there, but then the writer and artists blow up about it instead of going along with the people that had them, even give them the opportunity to create a character and give them an opportunity to be part of something big. For them to throw to backlash like that, and maybe if they waited a year or two, if they played their cards right, they would have been able to get the marriage or whatever. But personally, I just think it was too soon, especially as a retailer. Like, I don't want to have to sell another, gimmick title where next thing you know, all these people are coming in that never read comics but are just buying it because they think it's going to go up in value, and it's just been happening too much. But the new Batwoman is pretty bad. Obviously the new team fell off. Mark Andreyko is the new writer. There's maybe 4 or 5, or I think maybe even 6 different artists, pencilers in the book. It's way too many, especially in a new title. Maybe they're trying to get feedback on what kind of style people are digging, but I don't really agree with that. The art was so superb before.
Pre New 52, it was really, really good.
And even I would even say the first 6 issues of Batwoman were the best panel and color and art in the whole New 52 to me. It was beating everybody. And that was just my personal taste in art, obviously. I was showing people the full page layouts of it, and they were just picking up Batwoman. Like, oh, this is my jam. I love this story. And now I can't push the new issues because no one wants to mess with it now. So
man, it's interesting that you're seeing that kind of response up front. Like he's running the shop, so you're definitely seeing that kind of feedback.
Oh yeah, people are definitely dropping it off their subscription list and everything.
I think that she was so isolated from the actual Batman universe that kind of suffered too, because it seemed to me that they were really trying to create her as her own separate character from Batman, and the only real identification was she was Batwoman.
I just think
most people identify with Batgirl, Barbara Gordon.
Yeah, I think it was selfish for them just to jump off the title, because if you're gonna promote something and say something's really good and promote a company and stuff, and as soon as they say they don't like, okay, we can't do that according to whatever our business strategy is, and you're gonna, whatever the reason was, it doesn't matter, and you're gonna just end it.
Just jump
That's
ship.
such a disservice to your fans. That's such a and for your reasoning too. I didn't get what I wanted. They didn't let me do what I want. I'm an artist. No, you work for somebody. You have a job to do, and that job is to sell some comic books. And for guys like me who are out here trying to promote your name and your title and everything, and for you to quit over something that you feel so strongly about, like, okay, if you feel so strongly about it, then you be advocating for it every single day. But if you're gonna just say F you to your fans and just drop off the book because you didn't get your way one time, you need to get in there and keep fighting. You need to keep putting digs into those books. You need to start sending messages other ways. Keep that voice, or at least write your way out of the story. Don't just drop it off and let the next guy pick it up after I spent 2 years investing my time reading you and buying you,
Well, My Ugly actually switches completely from the Warner Brothers, from the DC thing altogether. It's focusing on AMC. AMC is getting sued right now by Frank Darabont, who was the Walking Dead show creator, and I believe he used to be the showrunner as well, former showrunner as well. He's suing them over some unpaid profits. It seems that AMC had created a production deal with Frank that gets into like some far more legal stuff than I can ever begin to describe, but seemed like the problem was that it was shady with its license fees, which means that somehow AMC ended up making a ridiculous profit on all the Walking Dead episodes, and Darabont wasn't getting anything. Darabont says that they breached his contract and made him lose tens of millions of dollars. I know there's a lot of legal stuff that's going on, but when push comes to shove, AMC, pay the man. I mean, we're all of us are Walking Dead fans here, and we all know how successful The Walking Dead is. I mean, that's an understatement. It was renewed for another season. We know you're making bank with this show. Pay the man. Like, there's no need to cause some extra drama or anything.
He did it
like
the right
that.
way. He did it the right way. How long did season 1?
Yeah.
Season 1 was like, boom. I love season 1. It was that perfect pace for the book. They really tried to follow what was going on in the beginning, at least. Obviously, you could see people were putting their hands in it. But as far as the way it looked and the tone of it and everything, I feel like he nailed it. And it really set the tone. Like, obviously, I feel like they stepped it up since then as far as the actual production. And obviously, they have more money now.
It's been through some ups and downs.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those shows I think now it's going to be on for 10 years, and if you have a guy that puts you on that path to make possibly billions of dollars on something,
why would you not just want to take care of it? I mean, I know it's all a business and stuff like that, but I feel that what they're making off of it, they can afford to take care of this guy who's giving them the cash.
To be honest, if you've been watching The Walking Dead, there's been a lot of turmoil behind the scenes as far as their showrunners and everything. And it started with Frank Darabont. Now, what I think it is that Frank Darabont was probably wanting so much more than Robert Kirkman, and Robert Kirkman is the real creator of The Walking Dead.
Exactly.
He wants that show. That's his show. And everybody else is just Hollywood infringing on his show. Now, as with
I can agree with that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
It's his stuff, yeah.
It's his stuff. And even if you go back to just the book itself, him and Tony Moore's fallout and Tony Moore wanting to get paid. It's kind of almost like a mirror image, only this time it's Frank Darabont on the movie.
But Tony Moore is one of those guys, he's one of those guys, I'm not gonna say doesn't deserve it because I think everyone deserves what they work for. You know what I mean? But he is a jerk. Like, I've seen him talk to people, interact with people at Comic-Con last couple years, and this guy charges like the most outrageous prices on sketches and stuff. Like, dude, you did like 6 issues.
Yeah, he didn't establish it. It was not him.
I remember when they did his art, I was like, because it was way more detailed and it was, everything was more full. I was like, cool, but when they moved to the next artist, I was like, I like this. I like
Charlie Allard is awesome.
I like the way you're doing this, Charlie.
The noir aspect of the artwork on that.
Exactly, it leaves more to your imagination, and that's what the book's all about. Is getting you into that deep thought of, what could happen if this was me or whatever.
But to get back on the Frank Darabont part, for me, I don't know exactly what point Frank Darabont's contribution was in season 1, because I know that it did take a dramatic turn at some point in time in season 1, but the showrunner Glenn Mazzara for season 2 and then most of season 3, he really is an established showrunner. I mean, if you look at his background, he was behind shows like The Shield.
Okay,
and I think he might have contributed in something to do with The Wire, or I mean, he was very good, and there was a big uproar amongst television people when Glenn Mazzara was let go, and what you said, Gimbel is a new guy.
I believe it's now.
I think it's just more Hollywood infringing on Robert Kirkman's ownership and his imagination for where he wants The Walking Dead. Because I think ultimately Robert Kirkman wants The Walking Dead to be based on his success of how he wants it to be portrayed. I think ultimately, and that could be a detriment to him because you might not get the top quality showrunners or directors in it. And that was your ugly. I'm going to go into my ugly. My ugly is, it's been out for about a month now, but why I'm going to say it's my ugly, I'm going to talk about Terrence Howard.
I love you, Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard, I'm a huge fan. You're one of my favorite actors.
Terrence, I'm about to go at you a little bit.
We're some flow wet, man.
Because,
by the way, wait, before you start, this is Ryan from Ryan's Comics saying, I'm a fan of you, Terrence Howard.
Okay, you can get in Best Man 3 then. Okay, but for me, Terrence Howard, if you're not familiar with who Terrence Howard is, he played Roddy Rhodes in the first Iron Man. Well, it was just announced recently that War Machine is actually going to be a major part of the new Avengers 2 movie that's going to be coming out. Age of Ultron in 2015. Now, why it's ugly is because Terrence Howard just recently done an interview basically accusing Robert Downey Jr. of stealing his contract and putting him out of the movie.
Come on, Terrence.
Terrence, I've followed your history for quite a while. I mean, for me, you're crying over spilled milk. Because obviously, as an actor, your contract wasn't as ironclad for you to be forced out the way that you felt that you were. Now, I've been following this Marvel Studios from its inception when Jon Favreau and Edgar Wright came to Comic-Con in 2006 with just storyboards of Iron Man, with just storyboards. And you were not part of it. So the movie is called Iron Man. Rumor is that you were forced out because you wanted the same amount of money as Robert Downey Jr.
But it's Iron Man and War Machine, though. Like, everyone knows that. Like,
no, it's Iron Man.
Iron Man's...
War Machine is Iron Man. But because if there was no Rowdy in it, it would have just been Iron Man with Tony Stark in the War Machine armor. So basically, it's all Tony Stark, and you're just a secondary character. You don't get top tier money as Robert Downey Jr., who established the entire Marvel universe.
But at the time, though, he was huge.
He was huge. He was
way bigger
the
than
name.
Robert Downey Jr.
He was the only solid name.
He was one of the reasons why I went to
Jeff,
see it. One of the reasons why I was excited about it. I was like, oh, Terrence Howard's in it too? Money. Like that, and you might look back now,
he got
6-7 years later, but
he was coming off Oscar-nominated, Oscar-winning Crash.
Yeah, but he was replaced with a better actor. Don Cheadle blows Terrence Howard out of the water.
You know, I'm going to say this.
Don Cheadle was the bad guy in Colors, for God's sake. I can't remember the name of the character, but Don Cheadle has a way better history. He's an Academy Award, if not winner, but nominated actor, and his nomination was for Hotel Rwanda, and Terrence Howard's nomination, he played a pimp trying to get into the record business. It wasn't even
I love Cheadle. I love Cheadle.
Yeah, it's dope.
I mean, yeah, like I love all the stories of that. But I've always said I think Terrence Howard was a better roadie than Cheadle was.
Well, Cheadle's not.
I think
he doesn't look like a military guy.
Physically, like Terrence
Cheadle was
looks,
yoked up in Iron Man 3, dude.
Was he?
He was yoked.
He was yoked, but he's still small.
He's still like Terrence Howard.
Military, big time.
Terrence Howard looks like he will lay hands on somebody without the suit.
No.
Cheadle looks like he may lose a fight with a cockroach and we turn the
what was
lights
that
off.
50 Cent movie? The 50 Cent movie, and they showed him in a prison fight, and he's got like a dingling like 2 inches long. And that's just saying as a man, he ain't gonna knock nobody out.
What does that do with anything?
Because how you gonna say he gonna be knocking people out? He ain't got a.
Adrian's clearly.
But I'm going at you because clearly
this is a show for children.
Yeah, it is. But I didn't say anything wrong. I was
No. Continue.
But clearly, the role was bigger than you, Terrence Howard. I mean,
I do think you didn't understand that.
At some point in time, you have to realize that just the name Iron Man alone is going to bring out people like myself, you, and Ryan to it without if there was no top billing actor. And it just so happens, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. was an established actor before Terrence Howard, even though at that time Terrence Howard was the man.
Way bigger.
At that time.
That's because Robert Downey Jr. was an established drug head.
Yeah. He was redeeming himself, and he did.
He did.
His role established the Marvel Universe, and his role as Iron Man has established Iron Man in the comic books as their premier, almost Spider-Man level hero. Everything about Marvel Comics right now is Tony Stark is the core.
Let me ask you a question. We were hearing earlier this year how Robert Downey Jr. was negotiating his contract with the other people from the Avengers, for Avengers 2 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like he's doing the same thing Terrence Howard did, but now he just has more leverage?
Well, I think that he knows that at this point in time, his name is going to carry the whole. I mean, he was Avengers. In Avengers, it was really Tony Stark's movie. I mean, it was basically.
But he's renegotiating his contract though.
That was a Loki movie.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Avengers was Loki movie.
But you guys see what I'm saying? Like he's renegotiating his contract now. That's the same thing that Terrence was trying to do.
I think age is always going to play a factor in with negotiating longevity of Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark. But I mean, why it's ugly is that Don Cheadle is about to get Avengers 2 money, and Terrence Howard just got Best Man reunion money. Which
I don't know why you keep clowning my man though.
I don't
the Best Man holiday isn't a good movie.
So Terrence Howard, you let your ego get ahead of you. Hey, you should have understood that when Robert Downey Jr. hit a home run in Iron Man, that you can't ask for equal pay because by the time Iron Man 2 was coming out, you wasn't banking those money. You wasn't getting those movie roles.
Is that the same thing happened to Edward Norton with the Hulk?
No, I think Edward Norton was more of a creative thing than it was just. I think it was more of a creative thing than it was an actor.
Have you seen his cut?
I would love to.
His cut's way better.
I'd love to see Edward Norton's cut of it.
It's way better storytelling, way more action too.
But Terrence Howard's career has suffered since then.
Really?
Oh, I mean, obviously. What has he done? What significant movie has he done since Iron Man? Name it. Too
Iron
long.
Man?
Yeah, Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard? Oh, I think Edward Norton.
See, you can't even think
I'm upset. I'm sorry,
Terrence, because it doesn't even matter at this point.
Upset. He's a musician, man. He's been playing music and stuff like that, and
I bet you can't make a movie about playing music.
Man,
He did actually already. Called Hustle and Flow.
3 6 Mafia got nominated for an Academy Award for that song.
And
come on, dog.
He told 3 6 Mafia.
He's a Golden Globe. He's an Academy Award or actor, dog.
No, he is the nominee. He did not win.
He did not win.
But nominee still. That's still better than anybody else that we talked about today.
No.
Why you don't like the Terrence Howard?
He's trying to destroy. I can't believe you guys are siding with him when he's trying to.
Robert Downey's never been nominated for an Academy Award.
Yes, he has.
Yes, he has.
Has he?
Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
Really?
Tropic Thunder and Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, okay. But he didn't win either?
I don't think he would have won for Tropic Thunder, no. I don't know if the Academy.
I don't know what he did for Charlie Chaplin, but he was nominated. And this was in the 90s. So Robert Downey Jr. is a bigger name. That's my.
Man, I know, man.
You guys are defending
I
him.
like
It's your opinion.
I
You
like
defend- He's trying to
Terry Tower.
destroy
Topic of the day
the
today.
franchise.
What is your favorite comic series of all time? And it can be story arc or just regular comic. Theo, what's your favorite comic?
Oh
series of all
man. Well, I'm gonna say this right now. You guys probably listening probably know this, but while I do enjoy comics a lot, I am nowhere close to the level of these other guys who are joining with it. So mine, but they probably won't be as in depth as them. But I want to say Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, that's the first comic I ever picked up.
Just Amazing Spider-Man in general?
Yeah, I mean, like overall, I mean, like as far as like just that story, you know what I mean? I mean, like just all
And his
you know,
overall adventures
just overall
and everything.
adventures of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, types like
Do you have a
that.
favorite Spider-Man story though? Like a favorite?
Was it Ben Riley,
Oh, yeah.
the clone.
the clone? That was.
was
I
pretty
remember reading that. You know, at that time, I remember reading that
In the
and that-
90s.
Yeah, and that was a big impact. But I will also say, you know, actually, I take it back. The biggest impactful story that I read with Spider-Man was Civil War. Because when I remember reading Civil War when I was ninth grade or something like that, and I remember when he unmasked himself on TV, and I will always have those panels stuck in my head forever. Like it was just very influential when I read it and stuff like that. So yeah,
Honorable mentions for Amazing Spider-Man is 259 and 250. It's the first time he fights the Hobgoblin. The Hobgoblin is an alternate version of the Green Goblin. Very good, just epic battle between two arch nemesis. That's 249 and 250. And also on Spider-Man, Kraven's Last Hunt.
yes,
Kraven's Last Hunt was Spider-Man's
Yeah.
real ultimate first true defeat.
Yeah.
Kraven killed him, buried him for almost a week. Spider-Man was...
Oh, it was a clone. I thought he buried the clone.
No, it was
I thought
Peter
he
Parker.
sacrificed himself. Oh.
No, this is the original Kraven's Last Hunt.
Oh, did you see the? Oh, I thought you meant the new one.
No, I haven't seen the new one. I haven't read that one. That was during Dan
That's what
Slott-
happened.
Yeah.
spoiler alert.
That's what happened. They actually, it's basically the same thing that happened, but one of the other clones sacrificed himself. It was pretty cool. It was deep. I was like, oh shoot.
See, I'm behind on that one. But when Kraven's Last Hunt came out, that was very good. That was like a good.
Well, I mean,
for
it,
Spider-Man.
it's common when you ever see like a top list. You usually see Kraven's Last Hunt up there, and for good reason. For good reason.
So what about you, Adrian?
Out of my years of reading comics, there was one particular
Decades. Let's not
decades of
call it
reading
years.
comics. There's a lot of story arcs that pop out to me. Kingdom Come, for instance, Dark Reign, for instance. But the one that really kind of blew my mind was the first run of Age of Apocalypse. It's the Bryan Singer's basing the next movie off of this whole. Hopefully, it's going to be based off of that whole story arc. But basically, it was so changing the Marvel universe because it affected the entire Marvel universe. Because basically, Professor Xavier's son went back in time to try to kill Magneto because he felt that Magneto had always prevented Professor Xavier from achieving his dream of peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants. So Professor Xavier's son, Legion, who is an Omega level mutant, went back in time to try to kill Magneto, but at that
Omega
time...
being the top level.
Yeah. Omega being the top level
Like
mutant.
limitless.
Yeah. So when Legion went back in time, he went back in time to meet Professor Xavier and Magneto when they were friends. And Professor Xavier does not recognize Legion as his son. So when Legion goes to kill to go kill Magneto, Professor Xavier jumps in front of the blow and dies. And basically history resets itself at that point in time because he killed his own dad. So he came back in time. So he was immediately wiped out of existence and everything stopped at that moment. And the only person that had any memory of it was Bishop, because Bishop was an alternate time traveler and he was immune to the time stream. So he woke up in this new universe where Professor Xavier never came in and his influence never came into the mutants. And Apocalypse, who was the first mutant, whose mantra is survival of the fittest, basically raised mutants up to be the dominant species, and human beings are almost wiped out of existence. And like, you know, if you look at modern society, how it's built up around human beings progressive. Well, in this society, it's all mutants, and human beings are basically cannon fodder. But Magneto, who Professor X saved, is the anti-apocalypse, and he's basically taken on the role as leader of the X-Men. And it was so great, so much great storytelling in it, just the life and death situations, and seeing major characters actually die in that story arc in their sacrifice to try to right the wrong of Legion killing Professor Xavier in the past. And Bishop was the key because he was the only one who had memory of it, and they used an item that they went back and, you know, in the Marvel archives and dug up. It's called the Micron Crystal. The Micron Crystal was the artifact that Jean Grey's Phoenix is born to protect. So the Micron Crystal was the only thing that was able to give them the ability to go back in time to right that wrong and set the universe right. But for a year in their story arcing, it was all Age of Apocalypse, and it was just desolation. And at the end of the story arc, you see Magneto and Apocalypse in this epic battle, and Magneto basically is getting whooped, and then he just starts to concentrate, and he uses his powers of magnetism and rips Apocalypse in half, and it was just an awesome story.
One of your honorable mentions was Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
Since you're old and you were around, and you were around doing your thing at that time.
I had kids back then.
Comprehend everything that's going on. Do you think that was an industry changer? Like, do you think that was a game changer for the industry when it came out? Alex Ross doing the art on it, that concept of storytelling. You know,
it still gives me goosebumps looking at his art.
That
man.
alternate. Oh, what if the ultimate what if? You know, Marvel's been doing what ifs forever.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone's been doing what ifs forever, but that was like one of the more ultimate because Alex Ross is doing the art, so it makes it way more legit. Obviously,
Alex Ross had did something similar to that prior for Marvel called The Marvels.
Marvels was amazing, yes.
It was amazing, but it wasn't as in-depth as Kingdom. Kingdom Come was hardcore, dude.
Hardcore.
That's Superman at his lowest.
Have you read Kingdom Come?
I have. And actually I want to give a shout out to my man Heinz, who listens to this, because he put me on Kingdom Comes. Changed everything for me. So continue.
It made you look at Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship in a whole new light.
Man, it was.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And you know I love Captain Marvel. You guys know that I love me some Captain Marvel and stuff. So I mean, Kingdom Come. I mean, I feel like that's on anyone's short list of introducing someone to comics. Like Kingdom Come is usually up there.
What I loved about Kingdom Come was the position of Bruce Wayne, because in Kingdom Come, I mean, basically it's set in the future where hero worship is banned and the human council is basically controlling everything. And Bruce Wayne is not a hero. He's part of the human council. So his resources along with Lex Luthor are the ones that have mandated isolationists of Superman and Wonder Woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where humans are really in control now.
Right.
And to have Bruce Wayne take that position over Superman.
It fits his personality, though.
It does. It does. I mean, in a lot of ways, I think Batman is an anti-Superman. You know,
He is. Their core values.
Except for Superman kills and Batman doesn't.
I mean,
Superman be throwing people in the sun, man.
I think
It's disintegrated.
Batman bricks people mentally, though.
Yeah,
So
he
what's
let me just say this in theory. If there was an actual story arc of who could kill Superman, they would have to give it to Batman over anybody.
I just give too much. There's too much. The fact that Superman can fly and use super vision at any time, super X-ray vision at any time, with laser vision, is not fair.
Guys,
You
I
win.
just want to interject right here. This topic is going far off what we originally talked
Yeah,
about, and I do not have a problem with that. I just say because we could talk about this
We're
right now.
just
and I'm
expounding
down.
on his
I'm down.
Kingdom Come reference because
Yeah.
I mean, Kingdom Come was a very good 4-issue series by Alex Ross.
It was incredible.
Illustration. The artwork in it. I mean, more than just reading comics for adventure.
Was it 4 or 12?
It was 4. It was
Okay.
4. It was 4 extended issues. I mean, they were.
Do you
pretty,
have all 4 of them?
I have. I have.
I mean,
them,
do you have the?
I have them all CGC. I have them all.
Okay.
But it more than just reading it, the artwork in comics is spectacular. The illustration compared to what we see now, compared to if you were to go back in comic books, and its
photorealism with watercolors.
Oh my God, it is amazing, and these artists really deserve a lot of accreditation for the work and detail that they put into it.
When I first moved here, I remember getting a job interview, and I did get hired. And my boss, before she was my boss, she was taking me down to San Diego, which was the same time as Comic-Con. So I'm from Texas, so this is my first time going to Comic-Con and stuff like that, just at least walking around outside. And there's a gallery that had the Kingdom Come art in there, and I actually took a picture of it. It was it was so incredible.
Was it outside of Comic-Con or in Comic-Con?
This was outside of Comic-Con. It was like in a little art gallery that was in cool. Gaslamp District in San Diego. And I mean, it's just that art speaks on so many levels alone, even before the text bubbles are added in.
And especially if you read the story, like if you see if you can walk past the store or anywhere and you just see a image of the Kingdom Come art, and you've read the story, you're like, oh my God. Like if I was to walk into an art gallery, right, and I saw an Alex Ross rendering or a life-size painting, like kind of something like that.
Life-size painting, it'd be what? About 50,000.
Dude, I would really, really
Alex
consider.
Ross is crazy.
Yeah,
I would really, really consider it if it was like, you know how he does his characters.
Yeah, it's very his style. Yeah. Brian, man, what's your favorite?
Mine is actually Civil War. That's what really got me into collecting.
Pound it.
And Civil War was a big deal for me because that was my dad really taught me about going to different shops, haggling. Finding all the tie-ins. There's over 100 tie-ins to the story.
I still haven't read them all.
Yeah, it's I have actually, because that's what I do.
I hope so.
we were getting like 4 or 5 copies of everything, of all the tie-ins. For me, it was big because I never really got to go outside like the Spider-Man, Fantastic Four circle because budgeting. And then my dad really started seeing me take interest, so we went hard on it. And we went to all the shops, and when we went to Comic-Con, we really had stuff to look for. And it's always good to have something to search for at Comic-Con. It makes the experience a lot better. If you go down to Comic-Con and don't search for comics, you're not really experiencing it the way it should be experienced. And then seeing so many heroes interact with each other. That was kind of the first time I experienced that since Infinity, for like my personal reading. So for that whole modern look at everything, I just read Infinity and then go to Civil War. It was really cool to see McNiven do the art on that, and Mark Millar did it. The creator of Kick-Ass, and a lot of people are like, Kick-Ass and Mark Millar in Civil War. Like I'm always attaching him to that book. That was huge. And it really set the tone for everything Marvel up until this day.
I feel like we're still seeing stuff from Civil War.
What I hate about it is the fact that they changed things after Civil War. For me, the most significant part of Civil War was when Tony Stark convinced Peter Parker to reveal himself to the world as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Well, that was in a Spider-Man thing that it got reversed.
Yeah, it was in the Spider-Man, but it's
off a lot of Spider-Man. I stopped reading Spider-Man for a year.
Yeah, that's what drove me off of Spider-Man because, now it's in the... That was part of the continuity Spider-Man was exposed. Peter Parker was Spider-Man.
All the enemies knew it. In his hand saying...
Aunt May had died.
Well, Marvel does a thing where usually in their comic book storylines... everything's isolated. Hulk is usually doing his own thing. Spider-Man's usually doing his own thing. The X-Men are doing their own thing. And then there's that Fantastic Four is doing their own thing. And then there's that core Avengers, unit.
Sure.
Where they, really connect all the titles, all their big, main titles. So Spider-Man's always been kind of separate. And I kind of wanted to bring that up in the film aspect too. That Spider-Man's always kind of been, his own thing. He's never really tied in. So to see Spider-Man tie in with all the guys for that was like my first time seeing Spider-Man really be prominent in the story. He has, and they had the Road to Civil War, which was amazing. There was
even Illuminati. That's kind of like one of the prequels to Civil War,
and the Illuminati is like huge right now, and it's almost like that they pulled that last thing from Civil War they could have to really set you up for the Infinity series that's going on now, and they just kept touching on the whole Gauntlet and Illuminati and just Civil War in general just made me so happy.
Another promising note about Civil War is Civil War was pre-Iron Man the movie.
Yes.
And it was also an establishment. It was really the first establishment of Tony Stark as the premier guy in Marvel Comics. Because he took over S.H.I.E.L.D. after that.
Could you disagree with Iron Man was a B-list character before Civil War?
He was a B-list character.
And I think with Civil War and followed up by his movie, that put him on the top, like to the A.
He was a B-list character, but everybody was always leery of Tony Stark and the power of his repulsor race.
They always make fun of him though in the books. They're always like, "Shut up, Tony." It was always that attitude, you know. And that's why I like Civil War, because it even exposed him then, like to show. Because I never liked Tony Stark. I never liked Iron Man. He was a alcoholic. I womanizer. I didn't like that. So. That was my favorite part about him. Seeing him in that light was really cool, and like I said, just it led into so many other good stories, and it made all the other stories more powerful. Like we're talking about Peter Jackson, just like really going into depth for a movie. Like Civil War would be a great movie.
Yeah.
On so many levels.
I'm going to piggyback even on that. I mean, and I know we can talk Civil War stuff all day, because I remember going to the comic book store with a couple of my high school friends and stuff like that. And we would literally be like, okay, well, I'm doing the Spider-Man one, but you're doing this X-Men one, and you're doing this Fantastic Four, and you would each just So because Civil War, I mean, like it was all this crossover stuff. So like it just wasn't like one or two stories. There was like 7 different things going on that all influenced and impacted each other and stuff.
They all
like
just came up with a good way of buying comics on the cheap. If you get a comic book club and you guys all buy different art.
Oh, I got guys doing that all the time.
That's what we used to do.
My subscribers, I have like 3 or 4 guys. What they do is they all get 3 or 4. They all get, because minimum's 5. They all get $5 each, and for them that's 15, because then they just swap and they do that, and they they're best friends. They all work together. So at work they put it all in one pile and kind of just go through it for the week. It's pretty
dope.
Yeah, it's pretty smart. So.
Wow, that's a good way to get people in here to buy.
Yeah.
Wow, awesome.
But yeah, I think that's it though. We're out of time here.
Episode 5.
Episode 5.
Man, we need to talk Civil War stuff too. I'm all excited.
Hey, next time we got more time. Next time,
Civil War and
hey, we got some good things
Superman.
coming. Yeah, who could be Superman?
Nerdiac's got some good things coming, guys. We got a nice little theme song that I think you guys might enjoy. Just stand by. We're gonna grow, and it's gonna always get better.
Yeah, so we got a little sample of the new song, and we'll be playing it after this. So thank you guys once again. This is Ryan from Ryan's Comics.
This is Adrian, aka Prophet Alpha.
Hey, this is Theo, just Theo.
And we are the Nerdiacs. Out.
I wear glasses, I play magic, hack your Facebook, you ain't even know what happened. Give a damn about fashion, damn about bottles. I can spend that on a new Grand Theft Auto. You now rockin' with the Nerdiacs, come kick it where the nerds be at. Hey, now rockin' with the Nerdiacs, come kick it where the nerds be at. Hey, now rockin' with the Nerdiacs, come kick it where the nerds be at. Hey, now rockin' with the Nerdiacs, come kick it where the nerds be at. Hey, we Nerdiacs, nerd and brainiacs combined. Listen, genius, witty, Voltron, head of committee. Discombobulate hate out of deep contemplation. Roll this in the juice using deep concentration. With no hesitation, the roof we gotta race it. We out this world super rare, who want a battle catcher? In a rage, turn my snap back to the back. In my backpack, comic books and cards stack. You now rockin' with the Nerdiacs, come kick it where the nerds be at. Hey, now rockin' with the Nerdiacs, come kick it where the nerds be at. Hey, now rockin' with the Nerdiacs, come kick it where the nerds be at. Hey, now rockin' with the Nerdiacs, come kick it where the nerds be at. I be the brains of the operation, but I love games, so don't break my concentration till I'm done playing. And I be getting paid doing things you couldn't say. Ain't no calling me a lame.